Hey you guys, we interrupt this program with a very important announcement. If you haven't heard, and I don't know how you might not have heard, because if you haven't, then you are officially living under a rock, I'm sorry to tell you. We are in the midst of a global crisis of Covid-19, coronavirus. And for many of us, for many people who don't already have pre-existing anxiety conditions, this is a very anxiety-inducing time and a very worrying time. For those of us who do already have a pre-existing anxiety condition, it makes it very difficult. It's kind of very hard to maintain a sense of rationalism when kind of everyone that you look to be rational and keep you grounded in your panicky times is also doing a good headless chicken impression. So I thought I would make a little video of just a few things that I generally tend to find are helpful and potentially might help you, might even just help me to reiterate in my brain that I need to keep doing these things. Some ways to take or ease the anxiety that we might currently be experiencing. I don't know about you, but I am finding I'm getting sort of waves of anxiety at the moment. Full disclosure, I'm currently on antidepressants, which have, on the whole, taken about 90% of my anxiety symptoms away. But even despite that, I am sort of experiencing some resurgence of, or re-emergence, I don't know what the right way to say that is, some re-emergence of symptoms. For me at the moment, it seems to be kind of very random waves of panic, not very frequent, that sort of make me well up with tears, and then I'm kind of like, what do I do with this situation? And then I'm largely able to kind of breathe my way through it, or whatever kind of works. But I am also finding depression is rearing its ugly head at the moment. So she says with a massive smile on her face. Nervous smile. Anyway, I hope you can see me with my glasses on. I'm actually currently at work, hence my lanyard, sitting in my car, because I just kind of am feeling like I need to make something positive of my current experience. So if this helps anyone else, then that would be great. So I've made myself a handy list of things that generally I'm trying to do, and I think could be helpful for other people to sort of reduce the anxiety experience in such a worrying time. For me particularly, I'm feeling like, because I live alone, if I have to self-isolate, that's also very much on my mind and causing anxiety as much as the health anxiety side of things. Plus I used to have a hand washing obsession. I have OCD, if you haven't watched my other videos, so that was a long time ago, but it does obviously bring up some kind of feelings there and anxiety. So anyway, I digress. How have I got this far rambling? So I want to just read out some things that I think might be really helpful for anyone really experiencing an increase in anxiety at this time. So I've written down 20 tips. So to be clear, I'm not professional. I've had about 3 years of therapy, I think, and so I would consider myself to be relatively experienced in dealing with anxiety, but that is purely from my own personal perspective. So this isn't clinical advice. Some of it will be based off of some clinical advice, but yeah, I'm just disclaimering the shit out of this, okay? So don't come for me if it doesn't work, all right? So number 1, delete news apps and turn off any news notifications from your phone. I know this is hard, but bear with me. So firstly, you kind of have to take some faith that if there is any major news that you really need to know about, you will hear from it. You will hear of it from either your place of work or your close social circle, or it might be your neighbours, but you will hear about it. And the point of this isn't necessarily to totally avoid the news, but it's to make you more conscious of when you are going to check in on the news. So if you delete all your apps and you don't have notifications, you're not constantly being bombarded by kind of the negative sensationalism, and it means that you have to go out of your way to find the news. And that means that every time you do it, you will notice that you're doing it, and it allows you to just kind of go, okay, I'm checking a lot. Maybe I can reduce this. Maybe it might be helpful to limit your news checks. This is kind of crossing over to number 2. Limit your news checks to like once a day or twice a day, maybe first thing in the morning and last thing at night, or if that doesn't work for you, do different times or whatever. But the point is, reduce your consumption of the news, and if that includes reducing your consumption of social media as well, then so be it. Remember, it's not forever. It's just in this period of time where everything is a bit crazy, and it's probably causing you some anxiety symptoms. So that was number 1 and 2 combined. Number 3, phone or text a friend. This is one that I reach out to a lot, particularly when I'm feeling I can't actually see people because I'm not feeling in a good place. But I do find that having a long WhatsApp chat with a friend really helps. I'm not particularly good on the phone, but for some people obviously that will be more helpful. And reach out to them. Maybe you want to do a video call if you're comfortable with that or whatever, but just make sure that you are communicating with people who care about you and who you care about too, because we are social creatures and we need to have that social interaction to take ourselves out of our heads. Number 4, pull out an old hobby. So now's the time to get crochet stitching, and now's the time to knit, to start drawing, colouring. For me, repotting my plants, I love doing that. Play your instrument that you haven't touched in 5 years. Whatever it is that you used to do and you used to feel like you had time for, and now you're always like, I don't have time. Do that, because whatever that hobby is, you clearly have something that makes you want to do it. And whatever that is will make it a lot easier to engage with and to reduce your thoughts surrounding anxiety and anxiety patterns. So if you can sort of absorb yourself in a hobby, it's a lot easier if it's something that you've already done before, so you know that you enjoy it, but you can start a new hobby as well. There's no reason why not to. Obviously, if you're self-isolating for all of these, you might be limited as to the resources that you have, but sort of kind of work with what you got, work with what you can. Number 5, keep your hands busy. So it seems counterintuitive because we're told not to touch our faces, and I know I've been touching my face through this whole thing. What can I say? I'm really bad at this advice. But keep your hands busy, whether you're using a fidget spinner or you're doing crochet or repotting your plants, or just it might be that you're preparing food to be frozen. Whatever it is, keep your hands busy, because that's a really good way of sort of taking your mind outside of itself, especially if you are concentrating on what you're doing. Don't ask me why, but I've just always found that this is really, really, really helpful to be doing something. Doesn't have to take much energy, but it's just keeping your hands busy, and that really, really helps to reduce anxiety. Number 6, read or listen to audiobooks and podcasts or YouTube videos, although avoid those sensationalist kind of social commentary things, because that's not good. But yeah, listen to audiobooks. I've been loving audiobooks at the moment. I had a really great recommendation from a friend called Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies. That's been great. I've been enjoying David Mitchell's most recent book, but I think he came out with it in 2019. Marie Kondo. What else? Russell Brand's Recovery. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. This Is Going to Hurt. Those are just some of my favourites that I've been listening to lately, and there's a lot of really fantastic free podcasts that you can find on Audible, iTunes, I believe, Spotify, Google Play Music, and SoundCloud, and loads of podcast platforms. So that is another really good way of taking your mind off whatever's going on in your mind. Take up a positivity. I'm really struggling to talk today. I don't know why. Take up a positivity and gratitude journal. So I've touched on this before in many of my Instagram posts on my personal Instagram. One of the things that helped me so much during my worst anxiety phases, it's something really simple, and it sounds kind of corny, but basically every day write down one thing. Sorry, there's building works going on in the background. Every day, write down one thing that you are grateful for, and write down one thing that was positive about the day, and make sure it's focused on you. So the positivity thing. So it might be like, I felt great today. I had a really nice hair day, or I put on a new mascara and it felt really good, or I survived one day without having a panic attack, for example. Those are all really positive things. And then the gratitude side of things, it can be as simple as, my coffee today was perfect. Or it can be, a friend reached out to me and I haven't spoken to them in ages. Or I finally figured out how to do a whatever it is, stitch and crochet. I don't know. I know this probably isn't relatable, but well, I'm trying my best, guys. So yeah, that I find really is helpful, because once you get to the end of a week that seems like it's been full of doom and gloom, you can look back and go, okay, there was a couple of things that kind of make this worth living, right? And I don't mean to sound kind of dramatic, but sometimes it gets that bad. So sometimes it's really helpful to look back and say, something was good. I liked it this day. In an entire week, I did have a couple of good things. Number 8, give yourself a mini routine. So a lot of us will be working from home or will be self-isolating, and human beings are creatures of habit. And as much as anyone will love to tell you that they hate routine, we all have our own routines, whether that's just as simple as you get up in the morning and you sit on the toilet, or you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth before you have a coffee, or the other way around. There will be some things in your life that you do on a routine basis, and this current situation is a massive disruption to routine. And particularly the more anxiety rises in your mindset, the more your routine will feel disrupted as well. So it's really important to kind of set yourself some guidelines on a daily basis for what you're going to do as part of a routine. That might be that every single day you're going to get up at a certain time. Every day you're going to do some yoga the second that you wake up, or some mindfulness, or you might want to have a glass of water as soon as you wake up. It might just not be anything to do with your waking up routine. It might be that you decide that you're going to get made up for work even though you're going to be working from home. I think for the sake of our mental well-being, it's quite important to get up and prepare for the day, even though we're not doing anything, if that makes any sense, because it still gives your mind a sense of purpose and a sense of routine, and it just kind of helps to calm some of those kind of alarm bells that are ringing, going, oh my god, we're so out of sync with normal life, like how do we cope with this kind of thing. So routine's really helpful, and I think also a bedtime routine is really, really helpful, and that kind of goes the same. I would advise reducing your technology consumption towards bedtime. Number 9, God, I'm not being very fast with these, am I? Exercise and yoga within reason. So it really depends on what country you're in as to what the government is giving you as guidelines around exercise and so on. So you need to be careful, but in terms of going outside. But something like yoga you can do indoors. There's a military routine. I think it might be the Canadian Air Force routine that you can do indoors. There's yoga, Pilates. There's so many things for home workout on YouTube. Like, there's no way that anyone can say that they can't, like, obviously physical limitations excluded. There's no way that anyone can say that they can't exercise on the basis they don't have equipment or whatever, or space, because I think it's the Canadian Air Force. I'm gonna have to try and like remember and link this below, but it's literally like done with a chair and that's it. So you don't need to have a huge amount of space. If you are allowed to go outside, I would really recommend running. Even if you have never run a day in your life, just start with like 1 minute's run, or run for 10 seconds. If that's all you can do 10 seconds, walk 10 seconds, run 10 seconds, walk 10 seconds. Running is so good for anxiety. I don't know the clinical side of this, but my personal observation is that whenever I'm having a panic attack or any kind of panicky feelings, I think my body is going into it's like simulating that flight impulse that you have when you have anxiety. So when I run, I feel like I'm running away from whatever is triggering that anxiety symptom. So when I finish my run, I feel such a sense of relief, and it just eases things for me. I feel like a normal human being again for a patch of time, and then I have to run again. But it genuinely really helps. And yoga also is really helpful. Look up Yoga by Adrienne on YouTube, because that is great. Again, there are also so many apps to help you with yoga, with running, with any exercise. So really, even if you hate exercise, try and give it a go. Number 10, breathing exercises, mindfulness, meditation. This is always going to sound really corny, but it's really, really good for you. Even particularly with anxiety, if you're having a panic attack, your breaths will be very, very shallow. And what you want to do is try and just increase the depth of your breath and slow it right down. So you're getting the oxygen around your body, you're reducing kind of the symptoms that you're feeling, you're just slowing everything down. And trust me, I've been in that place where I'm like, fucking breathing is not going to help me right now. Yeah, I've been raging for years about this, but I hate to admit it, breathing helps. Again, you can find books, you can find podcasts, you can find apps, so many things that will help you through breathing exercises, mindfulness, meditation. Check out the Headspace app, the Calm app, and the Insight Timer app, all of which have free portions of it, which will get you started on those things. Number 11, study online. Now is the time to start studying. If you ever are one of those people who are like, I'd love to study this, but I don't have the time, or I don't have the concentration, blah, 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 blah. Now is a great time to really, really, really focus in on what you might want to do. You're going to have a lot of time on your hands and it's going to be all yours. So just kind of decide if you want to study something, go all in, do it. You've got so much time on your hands. Now is the best time. I will try and add some links to the bottom of this, to the description of everything that I'm suggesting here, because I realise it's all very well just me waffling on about something, but if you don't have it right there, you're unlikely to have a look at it. So make sure to check out the description. Number 12, valerian tea is my number one remedy to anxiety. So this comes with a caveat. If you are taking any form of medication, you do need to look at interactions with valerian for your specific medication. So do be very careful, because natural doesn't mean okay? It generally is fine, but just be very careful and make sure if you're taking any medications, you check up. But my favourite one is Heath and Heather Nighttime. Valerian is basically a herb which is used as a very mild sedative. It's been used for like hundreds of years. Passion flower also has been proven to reduce anxiety. I think it's been proven anyway, I'm not totally sure. Do you realise how unscientific I am? Like, very. But anyway, I personally find that valerian tea is like number one. If I'm having a panic attack or I'm feeling anxious, I don't know whether it's placebo effect or what it is, but so many people I've recommended it to also find that it just kind of zones you down, like tones you down kind of thing, and just takes the edge off. It also is really good for sleeping. If you have sleeping issues, it really, really is helpful. Hence why it's called nighttime. But I actually just drink it all the time. If you have a pet, Cuddle your pet. I know not everyone does, but if you have a pet, give them a cuddle. There is nothing more therapeutic than looking after an animal or feeling an animal. And when you are doing that, think of how you feel towards that animal. You feel compassionate and kind. You don't want to hurt the animal. You kind of want to reassure them and just be like, everything's fine. And that's a really good example of how we should be treating ourselves. So use that as an example of how to look after yourself. Right, we're getting through it, guys, okay? We're on number 14. Make it your mission to check in with your friends. One thing that really helps anxiety is helping other people, because it externalizes what you're worrying about. So ask on social media if anyone needs to have a chat. Check in with your friends daily if you need to, and just say, how are you doing? You okay? How are you feeling? I know this can be a rough time. I'm having a rough time. Do you want to chat? Number 15, write a journal or podcast, or start a YouTube channel, or just write anything. If you're not into writing, that's fine, but this is the time that we all wish for, the time that we wish we had in our daily hectic lives, and now it's here. So why the hell not? Do it. It doesn't even matter if no one ever sees it. Do it for yourself. Just do it as a little project for yourself, to take your mind off what you're currently experiencing. You could even document what you're currently experiencing, as I'm fairly certain that there will be research into this period of time and what can be done better. What did people experience, particularly from a psychological perspective? How did the population cope with COVID-19? So it could be really interesting to document your journey with it. Number 16, declutter. So you're going to be spending a lot of time in your house, right? And unless you are like an absolute amazing minimalist, you probably have some clutter in your house. So now is a great time to sort through all that shit that's been lying around for years. You don't even know what you have anymore. Now is the perfect time to declutter. And I would recommend listening to audiobooks or podcasts on how to declutter, or watching some YouTube videos. I actually weirdly like watching YouTube videos on people decluttering while I'm decluttering. It kind of like increases my motivation. But obviously Marie Kondo is a great resource for how to declutter, and you know, this is a good time to sort of breathe a breath of fresh air into your home. Make a list of things you've been meaning to do for years. Like I said, this is the time. Now is the time to do the things you've been wanting to do. Avoid alcohol and or weed. Alcohol and weed are very, very, very bad for anxiety. Alcohol is a depressant, a nervous system depressant, and weed exacerbates anxiety like nothing else. Okay, I don't care what anyone says, it's really bad for anxiety. And you might find that it reduces your anxiety, the symptoms of your anxiety, but on the whole, it's going to take its toll. It's going to increase your anxiety. Okay, so just trust me on that. Experiment with new home setups. Move your bed around, like move your wardrobe. We've got so much time. Like video it, share it on YouTube, do like weird Instagram lives, and don't care if no one sees them. It's just, I feel like now is the time to make ultimate usage of our connectivity. We are very lucky to have the world at our fingertips on the internet, and now is a great time to do it. And finally, if you have the resources available, refurbish and mend things. You've probably got a pair of socks that's got holes in them. You've probably got a pair of jeans that ripped a little bit on the thigh. I mean, everyone's got something that needs mending. You might have a piece of furniture that you've been meaning to like fix up for so long. If you have the things to do so, like sewing kit, whatever it is you need, maybe now is a good time to do that, because it's something practical. It's something you can see the outcome of at the end. And it will basically anything to get your head out of your head, if that makes sense. Now, we've come to the end of the list. I know that what you're probably feeling right now, you're like, you don't understand. I am dealing with like life-threatening feelings, okay? And And believe me, I get it. I totally get it. I know what it's like, and you're kind of like, I can't do things. I want to go and hide in my bed and just pretend this is all not happening. And there's nothing I can say to you other than I understand. I know the feeling. I've been there many times, and I can guarantee you that the only way to reduce those symptoms is to get busy. And I know that you don't feel like it. I know that you have no energy. You feel like shit. But now is the time to get busy. And you're just going to have to trust me on that. I know this has been a long waffle. If you made it to the end, let me know. I realise this is a bit of a diversion from our usual kind of chat about plants and plant-based stuff and whatever, but I just find these things, it's a very unexpected situation we're in, and I think everyone can do with all the help that they can get, myself included. So I'm probably going to be watching this back being like, I can't do anything, I feel miserable, all I want to do is drink a bottle of wine or like hide in chocolate. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it doesn't really matter what you do. The main things are keep your social connections up digitally, whatever means you need to. Try and exercise. Try and find some things that help take you outside of your head. And please don't lie in bed doing nothing, just speculating, thinking. Don't spend your whole time washing your hands. Wash it as necessary. If you've like accidentally coughed on your hands, or someone has touched you on your hands, or you've touched something that's like from a high traffic area like a handle, then you can wash your hands. But just don't go overboard, okay? Because that's where the anxiety sets in. Just keep it rational. Check what you're doing and make sure that it has a rational basis on it. Like when you're checking the news, is it likely that they're going to have updated the news in the last 3 minutes? Probably not, so you don't need to check. And just kind of try and apply a sense of calm. Be kind to yourself. Treat yourself. Buy whatever it is that you've been wanting on Amazon for months. Just treat yourself. I know it's hard. I know everyone has money worries, but there will be an end to this situation. It's probably going to be rough. We don't know what we're dealing with, but it will be okay. All right. And now I just want to say, if anyone needs to chat, have a chat in the comments, send me a message me on Instagram, whatever you need to do. I'm here for anyone. As someone who has had sort of quite clinically severe anxiety, OCD and depression for a long time. That's my therapist's words, not mine, which also made me want to jump off a cliff when I heard it. But yeah, I strongly kind of relate to what you're going through. I can help you, even if it's just from a friendly face perspective and a voice of understanding, okay? And I'm here for you. And if you have any suggestions on how to keep anxiety at bay for other people, make sure to leave them in the comments. Thanks guys for watching, and I hope to be back to normal soon.